Hey y'all, and welcome to the next episode of my outdoor series. And we've got new faces popping up in new places, and boy, is this another awesome one. I'm excited to have my next guest here with me today. I'm here with none other than I'll call her by the name she's called herself, the undercover intellectual, the high-tech redneck, herself, Macy Watkins. What's going on, Macy?
Hey, Jacob. So nice to be here. Glad we could get on here and chat.
Oh, absolutely. So we'll start off like I do with everybody else. I mean, for those that may not already know who you are, kind of give me just a little bit of an introduction, kind of hit the high notes before we go into details.
Yeah, I love the intro, by the way. That's one of the best ones I've heard. Introduce me on a podcast or anywhere for that matter. But my name is Macy, social media content creator. Kind of found that by accident. I come from an outdoor industry background, mainly in marketing and public relations. Got my first industry job right outside of college. Worked with a lot of hunting and fishing clients, helping them with marketing and PR. That just launched my career, as well as some volunteer work that I did while still in college and high school. After that, took a leap of faith, quit my job as my social was growing, and now I'm full time with it. I mean, it's awesome. I'm blessed and doing the hunting and fishing thing, getting to do that, spend time doing what I love, and then doing my social. So that's about it.
Oh, awesome, awesome. I mean, I honestly just from following you, I love to see the path that you have paved for yourself. I mean, and I was just trying to follow along with that. It's been awesome. So
Yeah,
before,
yeah, sometimes I stumble when people ask me what I do now because
hmm
I do so many things. I'm on social, I'm, really spearheading my art and selling my art right now. I have an art degree. Most people you know, don't get past the country accent, they can't believe I have a fine arts degree, so I love doing that. And then I come from a very corporate, um, outdoor industry background. I also love to run and, do fitness,
right.
cycling even. I know we're probably gonna talk a little bit about softball, my college softball background, so
hmm
there's just so much to me. There's layers and layers, so I should really have that question down by now, or that
Oh yeah,
answer,
for sure, for sure.
but
I mean, I would say the shortest answer that you could probably give to somebody is like, man, well, what the heck do I don't do? I'm kind of like an onion, peel back the layers, look at everything. I
mhm.
mean, I basically do a little bit of everything.
People always say, "Macy, what can't you do?" And I'm like, I can't whistle to save my life. Just
Really? Oh,
can't whistle.
oh,
So, yeah.
yeah, well, that's not as uncommon as people think, you know?
Yeah, that's just my joke. I'm like, "That's
Uh,
one thing I've tried and I've tried and I can't."
Oh, well, now, I mean, being you mentioned college softball, that was a great segue. I mean, softball season
Mhm,
is almost here. We're just a little over a week away before it all gets started. So I want to cover that topic before we go into what we're mainly here for. Is
mhm.
We'll talk with this and say, would you mind breaking this down for us? We can start with uh with what got you interested in your first taste of sports. I mean, what exactly led you into getting an athletic background?
Yeah, I guess my older brother played baseball, and, I mean, it looked really fun, so my
hmm
parents signed me up for T-ball, and then my brother, I remember he taught me how to slide. So from then on, I was the dirtiest player on the team because I saw my brother slide,
hmm
and I wanted to slide. I wanted to get dirty, and I wanted to slide into home and score, so, just remember those early days, just humble beginnings, just playing T-ball, then coach pitch, just at the local rec. When I got to be about 11, no, 10, I joined a travel team, just a local rinky-dink travel softball team. Started playing middle school ball, made JV as an 8th grader, worked up to high school where I was playing travel ball on bigger teams like from Atlanta, from Columbus, Georgia. So where like your highly competitive teams were
hmm
pulling girls from all over the state. And my precious parents, we played a tournament every weekend growing up. So people think I hunted and fished a lot as a kid. I mean, I did hunt and fish, but not a lot because I was on the ball field and I was working
Oh
towards
yeah.
something that could give me a scholarship. So,
Mm-hmm.
started visiting colleges for softball on visits when I was in probably a freshman in high school, and then by my junior year, I had my scholarship with University of North Georgia, which is a D2 school, North Georgia Mountains, 2015 and 2023 D2 national champions in the
Mm-hmm.
NCAA. So, never got a national championship while I was there, but a few conference rings in the Peach Belt. So that is my softball journey
Oh,
from
absolutely. I
start
mean,
from start to end.
oh yeah, absolutely. I know. I've multiple softball players that I've talked to. I've always asked the question about like their opinion about burnout, about it. Like,
Mhm.
can you play too much baseball or softball at a young age and not be able to keep that desire to go into college and get and gain more success as you go through and actually make something of an athletic career.
Absolutely, but that's something I didn't figure out until the end,
Right. Mm,
which
right.
I guess most people do figure it out in hindsight. But I think I absolutely got burnt out. I mean, it was every single weekend growing
Mm-hmm.
up. Um, Team practice during the week, and me, a pitcher, I had pitching lessons every Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
In a town, I'm not from a very populated town. I had to drive an hour to it. Practice on Sunday or Saturday. You're looking at usually my teams I played with might be like 2.5 hours away.
Oh wow.
That we were driving to practice. So yeah, and then by the time I got to college, I had some great experiences, but when you get to that level, it is like a job. Um, Physical fatigue. I mean, you're waking up very early every day. I remember I'm not proud of this, but I would fall asleep in class. And I actually met one of my best friends today. Today she works for Seek One, the
Mm-hmm.
urban deer hunters. But I met her in class, and she became one of my best friends because she was the one that elbowed me to wake me up so I wouldn't get in trouble. And again, I was a great student. I loved school and everything I learned, but I would fall asleep because I was just so fatigued.
Right.
So you do get burnt out, and I only played 2 years in college because after that I felt a calling. I felt led to pursue something different. Just kind of grew out of it, was ready for something new, and that's when my outdoor life just took over. I already had the foundation, the passions, but I had a lot more time for it, and we see where that's gotten me today. So
Oh,
thankful.
gotcha. Awesome, awesome. I know the final question I'll ask about this with softball, and I've asked as like a closing question for this segment with some of the other girls that I've interviewed is like kind of describe your experience. You've already touched on it, but like describe it in a bit more detail for me of with the toughness of being a student athlete and how it was there any particular methods that you might have put in put into work to deal with the title of student athlete because it's basically twice the job than some of the other guys that are there to just get a degree.
Mhm. I would say just having the built-in support system does help because you do have a team, that's there for you,
Mhm.
that'll become your best friends. And then you have so many resources like athletic trainers and mental mental toughness coaches. Like teams literally have someone that comes in and works on that with the players.
Mhm.
I mean, the assistant coaches helped me schedule my classes and make a schedule that made sense for an athlete. There's just so many resources available to an athlete. Um, and other methods, hmm, I mean, you do learn a lot of time management. Um, I'm trying to think if that actually answered the questions. You said methods that help with being a student athlete
Yeah. Mhm.
and balancing all of that.
Mhm.
I obviously didn't do it very well if I can't think of any, but
I mean, well, the thing I've always found is that each player that I've talked to basically gives the same answer, but I love the different
mhm,
ways that that they deliver it, and it always comes back to the last point you made, which was about time management, which is probably one of the top 3, if not at the top of that list, with with the responsibilities of a student athlete. It's like you gotta know how to manage that time very wisely because uh, you gotta know when to get assignments done, you gotta know when practice is, you gotta know when to get up to get to the workouts, what time class is.
Mhm.
I mean, you gotta know the amount of time it's probably like if you take a class across campus and the softball field's on the other side of campus, you gotta know how much time it's gonna take to get there in order to not be late for practice. I mean, it all boils down to that. I mean, they've all given me the same answer. It's just I love the different ways it's delivered.
Yeah, I
Mm,
think that definitely made me think of something. It's, um, just my correspondence and communication skills definitely got sharpened during that time. I had
that
to
too.
rely on that because you're always on a bus,
Mhm.
you're always on a road trip, going to play a tournament or going to a game. So I really was, I don't wanna say I was never in class, but I missed a lot of class, but, um, I mean, I think that made me a better employee one day, someone that's
Mhm.
very employable, um, just being able to communicate with professors or people in a group project or anything like that. Just you absolutely had to be on top of your game being an athlete and a student, and in turn, I think that made me a very employable young woman.
Oh, absolutely too. I mean, and the correspondence point you made, I'll comment on that one, then we'll move on. That's a great point to really tell people is if you communicate with these professors and all the teachers that you have, like they will be willing to work with you. But
Mhm.
if you show that you've got a little bit of a lazy streak and you don't talk to them, it's like, hey, I got a game this week, I got practice half an hour before class ends, and all. I mean, it just as long as you keep that constant line of communication with them, like you'll probably not end up failing that class. They're going to make sure that you stay on top of your game.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I had a lot of professors that loved athletes and supported them, but, I was in the art department, and I still did have a few of those, but I will be completely honest and say that some of my art professors did not like the fact that I was an athlete,
Yeah.
and
Well,
they wanted
of
me
course.
in class,
Hmm.
and sometimes they took it out on me, so that was a struggle I had to overcome and work around.
And which, of course, I know there's plenty of examples if you think long and hard enough that there's some examples that don't the professors that don't care at all that you're an athlete that you need to be in here when you need to be in here.
Yeah, we overcame it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just look at where we are now.
Absolutely.
So we'll move on to life after sports, and I've got this segment titled "Life After Sports and Internet Emergence."
Mhm.
So what's
That's
this?
what came next.
Oh,
Internet
absolutely.
emergence.
I'm trying to do this like in chronological order the best I
Yeah,
can.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm,
digging deep in those softball and college memories,
mhm,
yeah, I had to dig deep for them
mhm.
because I mean, I graduated in 2019 from college, and yeah, that was 5 years ago, and my
Yep.
life has changed so much since
Mhm.
then, so some of those questions, I was really having to dig deep and remember because I mean, phew, I'm a different person now, just a different life. Everything
Oh
has
yeah.
blown up, so
Yeah,
let's get it.
time passes so fast. You got things get piled on top of that, and you gotta dig deep in the memory files to be able to answer a question like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not dealing with a yellow ball anymore, and I'm dealing with a whole it's a whole new ball game.
Absolutely.
But let's get into it.
Oh yeah. Was this graphic design and art major that you had here something that you had plans on merging with the outdoors or from the beginning, or did you get this idea to merge these two things while trying to think of ways to apply it?
Yeah, so, I want to sit here and tell you that I had this big dream to work in the outdoor industry, and while it did sound nice, like, I considered all options.
Mhm.
I I wanted to pursue a career in graphic design. I applied for, a church in the area, like a mega church. It's called Free Chapel, which I did attend for a while. I applied to be a graphic designer there. I mean, I applied at some random places. even in college, as I was graduating, I did some work with a genetic testing lab. So I I was pretty diverse
Mhm.
individual as far as my work scope. Um, but I don't know, it's just kind of a God thing. I saw this position online that was 20 minutes away from where I went to college, so I could stay in the area and take this outdoor industry job as a graphic designer. So I went and applied, and I didn't get it. I went and interviewed and was hopeful, but I did not get it. They needed someone immediate. Um, and I think it was like February. I hadn't graduated yet, but literally like the day before graduation day, that boss called me and said, um, I re- I've really been thinking on this and your interview. I was impressed, and we really want you on our team, but as a hybrid position. So, like an account executive who does all the work with clients, all the PR, all the advertising, everything, as well as you can do some graphic design. So, I ended up getting the job anyways.
Awesome, awesome, man. I can tell that really fits the whole scope. But that really
Mhm.
fits the whole scope of stuff that you've done. I mean, I can tell you've gotten the experience. At least I would say coming up through college, I'm sure there were some things that you might have done to really kind of build that portfolio of yours to be able to say, here's what I've already done. Here's what I can do for
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, I was an extremely involved student in college.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it got a little ridiculous. I was a part of so many clubs and
Hmm.
organizations that I had no time in college. Like, I was busier in college than I am now because I did put a lot of work into volunteering with Ducks Unlimited, where I met a lot of people who mentored me, and made opportunities possible for me, and definitely kinda launched my career there. Also did some work with the bass fishing team. I was in a sorority. No one wants to believe that about me, but I was. I was on SGA,
Hmm.
which is student government. I was on student athletic advisory committee, which is like a SGA for athletes. Um, I did first Saturdays of service. I was homecoming queen. I mean, I truly set myself up for success in the networking game.
Oh yeah.
Making friends, making connections, getting work experience, volunteer experience. So yeah, that wasn't me bragging on myself. That's my journey. Those are the things I did that set me up for a career that I have today.
Oh
Started
yeah. No.
early.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I understand what you're saying. I mean, I would say that I know with what I'm doing. I mean, I've made this podcast while I'm doing job searches of my own to apply this media degree that I've got. And I know one
Mhm.
guy that I spoke with at the University of Georgia who works within the journalism program. He gave me one great piece of advice that made a whole lot of sense the moment he said it. And he said, really, it's not what you know. It comes down to with job applying it really comes down to, yeah, it's going to say what you know, but comes down really a big piece is who you know as well, because
Exactly.
because if your name gets within the good graces of this person, it's going to come out of their mouth to this person and this person and this person. It'll keep going down the line. Somebody's going to notice how good you are at a certain task and say, why don't you come work with me or work for me?
Mhm. That's some of the best advice I could give someone who
Hmm.
is young in college or even job searching or running their business today is networking is the key to success. And I remember I met this man named Jeff Barnes, who was very involved in DU when I was in college. He helped make different chapters around different colleges in the state, and he's very high up at Bank of America as well. So just like a very successful individual that kind of mentored me, and I think about a lot of things I have today. They were branched off from knowing him. So clients, opportunities, hunting trips, connections, and I have a few of those mentors in my back pocket, but Mr. Jeff was one of them. And then when he was appointed um, the state chairman for Georgia Ducks Unlimited, he appointed me as his publicist. So
Awesome.
that's just one success story, but it truly is who you know, and that's why it's important to um, get to know people, shake hands, do good work. and that'll get passed along and it'll come back to you tenfold.
Oh, absolutely. And I know another piece of advice that I've always kind of tried to follow through life is it may sound cliche because you've probably heard it in so many different scenarios throughout life. It's first impressions. I mean, the first impressions really do matter in a plethora of situations.
Mhm.
Hmm. Which
They
go
sure do.
which follow into the networking and who you know. I mean, it's all it all can make a domino effect. You just better hope it goes in the right direction.
Yeah. If people are ever asking me for advice with their careers or businesses, or just trying, or if they're just like, Macy, I love your life, and like, what are some things that you did to get there? I'm like, I've never been afraid to go up to the most important person in the room and shake their hand. In fact, I
Mhm.
kind of make it a challenge wherever I am. I'll give the same respect and kindness, and be eager to meet the janitor in the room. But
Mhm.
I'm never afraid to put myself out there and go up to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm Macy Watkins. Great to meet you." And
Mhm.
that's been one of my keys to success.
Absolutely, I love it. I know when you mentioned the janitor as well, that kind of
Mhm.
queued up a quote in my mind that I'd have to double check myself, but I think it was a quote from Tom Hardy, an amazing actor. He said I was taught from a young age to treat the janitor with the same respect that I would treat the CEO.
That's so true, and that's kinda where I got that because 'cause I've heard
Yeah.
that same quote.
Mhm.
And honestly,
Mhm.
like, I'm so glad to be on your podcast. This kinda segues into that, but, I've been thinking lately, like, in all transparency, I'm gonna be on the Meat Eater podcast in a few weeks, which is a big one for me, but
Mhm.
I enjoy doing that, and it's gonna be an awesome podcast, but I also enjoy what we're doing right now, just on Zoom, just great conversation, and that's honestly why I wanted to do your podcast because you seemed like you really wanted me on, and I was like, I checked it out. I was like, this could be cool. And, you know, I feel like a lot of influencers, creators get so bogged down with doing these big things that make them look cool. And I just try to never lose touch with the people who reach out and
Right.
just want to talk about sports and outdoors with me. So,
Oh, absolutely, and I know and that's one thing I really do love about you is that you, of course, you've gotten all these big opportunities like you mentioned. You go with the one coming up with the Meat Eater podcast, but you've always been great about trying to connect with. I guess you say try to connect with the local stuff, the little guy. I guess you could say the up and comers. I mean, it's always about never forgetting where you come from and going back and connecting with people that have that have lived around your area and are trying to do the
mhm.
same type of stuff.
Yeah. And I
Mhm.
wasn't undermining you or what you do at all. Um,
Oh, I
I'm
understand.
just so
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be on and
Mhm.
support it and
Yeah.
chat. I mean, same thing like with my DMs. I try to connect as much as possible with the people who love me and support me. Like sometimes people will DM me a certain river that they know I spend time on, and they'll just ask me what to throw, and I'll just say, "Here's what you need to throw. Here's where you need to cast. There's actually some rocks near this big hole past the bridge that you should stand at." I just give them a little information. I try to help people out like that too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love it. I mean, you always try to give that advice, but I mean, you could tell that I'll give you some advice, but I'm not telling you where and what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do try to. I mean, I try to help people out with fishing.
Yeah.
Not specific help, but I'll be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
try these lures, try these flies." And just connecting and supporting people that follow me. Like this lady emailed me, not emailed, commented on a TikTok a few days ago, just saying, "Hey, I have a salon in town. I would love for you to come by." And I wanted to support her business, and I needed a haircut, so I went yesterday and I got a haircut from one of my followers.
Hey, awesome. Hey,
So
it looks good.
connecting. The point of all those stories was I love connecting with the people who support me, and I'll never not have time for it. It's important.
Absolutely, and I love that, and absolutely love that approach that you take. And some people seem to kind of fall short in that area, and I can tell that right now you're not.
It's easy to get a little successful and forget about what matters. So,
Oh, for sure. And we'll jump to our next point here. We'll talk about your graphic design. You've put it to use and made a separate social media page and actually kind
mhm,
of showed off some of the stuff that you've done. I mean, or anybody that wants to see it and then don't know where it is, you go to it's at Macy Made, right?
with
And
an underscore behind it.
okay, well, underscore, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, and so how often do you find yourself making a piece of art, whether it be for someone or either just to post it online to kind of show off your skills?
I would say at least 5 days a week I'm making art.
Oh wow, okay,
Mhm.
pretty constant.
I mean, not all of it might be good, but, you know,
Yeah,
I make a lot of pieces. Even if I'm just, like, doodling,
right.
I'm always doing something, and I always, like I just always have an ongoing project.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of the turkeys I've done recently, worked on 'em for a few days and then made a cool post, so,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
hey, I mean, I
I
know
try to
whenever.
be I try to be consistent with it and
Oh yeah.
just
Mhm.
be prolific with what I'm doing.
Which I can tell. I mean, from especially by the way you've done it, it's well about 5 days a week. Kind of makes me think that you do that pretty constant, either as as you said, a constant project. I mean, do you ever do it just when you've gotten bored?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've always done, just
Uh-huh.
out of hobby,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah, hobby.
I
I guess
guess
that was a better
I
way to
guess
put
getting
it. Yeah.
bored. Yeah,
Yeah.
but, in my free time.
Yeah.
But now, the reason I'm doing so much art, 1, because I do love it, 2, because I'm starting to sell it. So, I'm
Hmm.
working with a company right now who will be printing all my merchandise for me, so I'm trying to build up that collection of art, pick the pieces that I wanna print on stuff. So
Hmm.
that's why I'm putting a lot of time into it right now, which was always the goal. I wanted to, you know, pursue my social, go full time with that, and that's why I quit my job. But in the long game, I did want to sell my art, put a lot into that, and use that college degree and make some
Oh yeah.
money. Yeah,
Absolutely.
because that's a scalable part of my business, printing art and t-shirts and stuff.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So that's where that's my next move.
It's starting small. I mean, you just want to say start small is the best way to go. I mean, you can always get bigger and bigger. I mean, but you don't want to, of course, you don't want to start out uh, on halfway up the pyramid per se. You don't want to start out at the peak. You're always starting out at that base, make it small, and just
Mhm.
watch it grow in increments.
Of course, I'm excited. Um, I'll keep everybody to date on up to date on a launch date for that stuff, but I'm excited. It'll
Okay,
be my
cool,
own little Macy Watkins shop.
awesome, awesome. I'll definitely have to check that out when it launches. And that
So
I'll say it's very clear that you've got the drive to get things done, and you've said in your videos that you've achieved some goals that you didn't think that would happen, or what might have taken a little longer to achieve. So, where exactly do you think you get that drive, or the place where you draw inspiration or motivation from?
mm, I will say that I naturally am just gifted levels of motivation. I've always, like, kinda called myself Macy the motivator. No one else says that, literally just me, but I
Hmm.
motivate other people, but I draw from a lot of that internally. I just
Hmm.
wake up just so motivated. That's it's just a strength of mine. But other than that, just drawing on my faith in God, doing good while I'm here on earth, and just doing a good job, and just doing what I do well. Um, I love this verse, Colossians 3:23, that says, "Work as if you were working for the Lord and not for men." So I just have that attitude with what I do. Um, Truly, just am an ambitious individual. I have so much ambition in life, and it's like not to put out too many quotes, but they say you go as far as you can see, but once you get there, you'll be able to see a lot further. So
Oh yeah.
I always meet my goals, and think that's the destination, and I'm like, actually, here's a new goal. So,
Hey, I love it. I love it. I honestly can't think that's a better way to answer that. I love referencing
mhm,
the Bible verse. It's a good way to support that answer.
mhm. And my parents, I can't leave out my parents. They're
Hmm.
self-employed. They run an automotive shop in Gordon, Georgia, and I've just always seen my dad get after it, get his hands dirty fixing cars. My mom runs the front office, staying
Hmm.
late to help him, and they just, I mean, they worked a lot to sacrifice sending me to a very nice school and even made it work when my mom was sick with cancer. So I've had two great examples of hard workers in my life that provided for their family and made sacrifices.
Oh, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Being you mentioned about being able to send you to a great school, and I know that it kind of brought me back to something I meant to say during the softball segment. Is, you played in high school softball at GMC, and
Mhm.
when I figured that out by looking back and trying to figure out who exactly you were, and I saw that, I was like, how in the world did I not know that? Because I've been broadcasting locally high school softball and baseball and some football as
Mhm.
well. And I was like, how did I not know that she that she was part of the GMC? Because I know with me down here in Telfair County, I know there's been a handful of times that we've both of our teams have been up there in Columbus.
Uh-huh.
I was like, how did I not at least spot her at least once or twice up there? Because I mean
Yeah,
because we've overlapped multiple times up there.
I'm sure, I'm sure. Like, that was what I looked to forward to the most in high school was when we made it to state and
Hmm.
could go to Columbus and play in the Elite Eight, and we lost state championship twice, and we won it when I was a senior.
Oh
So
yeah,
lost it
absolutely.
the 2 years before that. But yeah, I'm surprised we didn't cross paths. Like I said, I'm a different person now. That seems so long ago. I'm
I
going on
know. Yeah.
my 10-year high school reunion, so wow.
I know, yeah. I was gonna say time passes quicker than you think. I mean, and it won't be too much longer before. Of course, I know you graduated in, was it
15 and
2015?
19,
Yeah,
high
15
school,
and 19.
college.
Yeah, I was gonna say yours will be coming up next year. I mean, I know 2027 ain't too far away for me. So now
Yep.
we'll jump into TikTok and speak about some of the videos that you've made and how
Mhm.
that really made that supports the internet emergence part of this section. So I'll say I'm a huge fan of them. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not funny and entertaining. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
that's if really if I had to pinpoint a specific video where I would say I really became a fan and started watching more and more of them, is the video where you referenced a line from Morgan Wallen's song "The Way I Talk." Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, I'll quote it here and say some people like to make fun of the way I talk. And I'd say another more recent one was your three-part weather forecast about having cold
Yes,
weather down
yes.
here. I'd say
Those are 2 big ones.
I was gonna say that I was gonna say those were two huge ones, and honestly can't tell you how much I laughed at both of those.
You and everybody else. That
Hmm.
the Morgan Wallen one about the way I talk was
Hmm.
my first video that hit 1,000,000.
Hmm.
And that was the fall of 2022. And after that, it's like it spearheaded my growth. I was at 300K. Before I knew it, I was at way past 1,000,000. So
I think
that
I looked.
video was like the breakthrough
Mhm.
for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think yesterday I looked to like get an updated count. I think what are you at 1.3 million now? I think.
I was at 1.4 and TikTok did a bot clean out this week. It
And then it dropped it.
knocked me like this much below 1.4.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, dang. but but yeah.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure that you'll gain that deficit back pretty soon.
Yeah, I have so many spammers, so it's probably good to clean them out anyways.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So I've got a couple of questions revolving around the videos, and I'll ask this. I mean, I'll I'll actually combine these two because they kind of go hand in hand. Like, what gave you the idea to really start making these videos? Was it to kind of show off your uh personality or showcase your love of the outdoors, or did you really start to just mix those both of those in?
I can be completely honest on why I started TikTok if you want me to be.
Yeah, go yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
and I don't tell this I don't broadcast this, but I'll tell it on your podcast. I got broken up with. I was so
Oh,
upset and just needed something to do, like to distract
okay.
myself. And I was like, I'll download this stupid app. And before I knew it, I was just scrolling on TikTok, just laughing and laughing. I was like, I love TikTok. And then I was like, well, I can make a video. And I remember my first video I made was you know that song where it's like, "Sweet dreams are
Oh,
made
yeah,
of"
uh-huh.
and every beat drop, it was me turning to the camera in a different hat or like,
Oh,
silly
uh-huh.
outfit. It was so stupid, but it made me a lot happier, and it distracted me, so kept making videos, mainly about hunting, fishing, southern lifestyle, funny sayings, just sharing my cute little southern lifestyle with people, and before I knew it, a lot of people were following along and watching.
Hey,
So,
awesome, awesome. And I love
and
that
then
you have and I love that you have really mixed in the outdoors, part of that to really
mhm,
show the love of the outdoors, and that actually that basically just kinda goes hand in hand. It's not really 2 separate topics of videos that you make on TikTok. I mean, I know because, I mean, you go through here and you do breaking down Southern slang, and then the next video might be out in the woods on a hunting trip, busting out some Southern slang. I mean, it to me, it's just a nice little mix of it. And I mean, I know that
mhm,
there's nothing that really that flips to the other side of the coin to where it's nothing. I'm trying to
mhm.
phrase it correctly. I mean, there's nothing.
It's definitely diverse.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say,
He
yeah,
says.
diverse. I was gonna say, my mind went blank there for a second.
Yeah, it's
Mhm,
TikTok's definitely been a creative outlet for me.
mhm,
Just figuring out the style of videos that work, that get views, which getting views is not all that it's all about, but
mhm.
I love the creativity aspect of TikTok, um, with everything that you can do on there to make people laugh and to, get my key messaging across about who am I and what am I about and what do I love to do. So that's my
Oh,
approach to
absolutely.
TikTok.
You've got a YouTube channel as well. I mean, I know in the past, I think 2 months ago, you started uploading some more videos. I think you put up
Mhm.
two more. I think judging by the oldest video, it's about 3 years old, maybe.
Mhm.
I know it wasn't too long ago that I subscribed to it as well. So during
Thank you.
my research and prep time, I watched. I think with 22 videos on there, I pretty much went through all of them to really check them out because they're not that long, so it didn't take that long to watch them. That doesn't mean that they weren't entertaining. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Yeah, some of
mhm,
them are old, but I've
yeah,
recently started to make more time for YouTube just because there's a
mhm,
lot of opportunity there and
mhm,
just give some people some fresh, just different long form content. Um, but not like my other stuff. Like I'm doing my Nature's Friend series, which is all about woodsmanship and
mhm.
um, how to track an animal, how to read tracks, how to identify trees and their wildlife benefits. So just more knowledge than
Right.
everything, just
Mhm.
like a fun walk in the woods with Macy, you can picture it like that,
Oh, yeah.
or on the water, and something that I
Mhm,
haven't announced that I'm doing next is called Front Porch Faith, which
mhm.
is, basically life lessons, faith-based messages, mixed in with outdoor experiences, so that's something that's coming very soon, and now that I have hired someone on my team to help me with some responsibilities, I have a lot more time to work on those things
Oh,
on
awesome, awesome.
YouTube.
I know when I saw that first, Nature's Friend episode, I was like, I honestly really enjoyed that, and I was like, "I can't wait for the next one."
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I've just been so into woodsmanship and especially trees and just identifying trees and picking up acorns and identifying them and patterning wildlife and just learning about different species and gosh, you name it. But I'm just so into that right now. Like, I truly something about me that I wanna tell people is that, like, I truly study what I do, like hunting, fishing. I do a lot of research. I do a lot of reading, learning, watching videos, and taking notes and writing about it. So I'm very studious with what I do.
Hey, awesome. I had trouble kind of placing this topic in a section, but I think it fits best here. So, I mean, if you're interested, I'd like to talk about. You've kind of touched on your job a little bit, but we'll go into more detail about it here. Kind of tell us what your job at Source Outdoor Group.
Yeah.
It,
So that was what it all entailed. Is that what
yeah,
you're asking?
yeah. Well, like really,
Yeah.
what it all entailed.
That was the first outdoor industry job that I've spoke of
Mm-hmm.
in our conversation. Um, like I said, I did not get the job as a graphic designer because he needed
Mm-hmm.
someone immediately. But once I graduated, I started as an account executive slash graphic designer. So I did a little graphic design. Um, my account executive roles were PR. So I was reading, writing, editing, publishing press releases on different outdoor products, which is why I got a lot of knowledge during that time on the industry, on products, on hunting and fishing in general, because I was reading and writing about it every single day. I was like a sponge as far as like information. Um, and then I worked a lot in advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So I did everything from like designing ads to buying them at a publication or digital platform with my client's budget, placing the ads, making sure they got delivered and placed in the right issues, getting editorial for my clients, so like articles and blogs, the features, like top 10 baits of the spring or whatever, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. What else did I do? I managed influencers for a while. So before I did all this stuff, I guess you could call me an influencer. I managed influencers. So I've seen it from both sides.
Oh,
I did
awesome.
event planning. I mean, everything at the company, I did. So it
Hey,
was pretty good job security because I could do it all.
jack of all trades.
It was great work experience.
Mhm.
I'm forever thankful for my work that I did there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I guess you could call yourself a not necessarily a jack. I guess jack of all trades, Jill of all trades, whatever you want to call it. Well, I've always
Yeah.
heard the phrase "jack of" the full phrase about that is "jack of all trades, master of none," but it's always better than a master of one.
Mhm. I've always thought of myself as a jack of all trades, master of none, because that's me and my hobbies too. I love to I love to fish, but I love to fly fish, but I love to fly tie flies and bow hunt, but upland hunt and turkey hunt. What am I forgetting? I do duck hunt, but the thing is, I spend so much time doing those things, but I love so many things, so I just don't have enough time for my hobbies. That's what I tell people my problem is.
I, and of course, trust me, and that's does it make sense to say that's a good bad thing to have? I mean, you've got so many hobbies, but I mean, just as soon as you get time to do something, like it's kind of hard to pick what you want to go do.
It really is.
Yeah.
That sounds so privileged to say, but
Mhm.
I have so many hobbies, and honestly, the versatility, just my diverse interests have been very good for me business-wise
Mhm.
because I have a very wide appeal.
Oh yeah.
So, like, one of my sponsorships that came through in the past year and relatively new, Academy Sports and Outdoors, they were like, "The appeal with you to us is, 1, we love you, we think you're awesome, we love your stuff, and we're proud to put our name behind you," but they were like, "You hunt, you fish, you're into fitness." Academy Sports is the big part of their business. They're like, "You
Mhm.
even play a little golf, you have a softball, baseball background." Um, I do so many things, so a company like that is, it's a very good fit.
Oh,
So it
absolutely. I
being
know.
being my point is being diverse has given me some great opportunity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about it with the stuff that you have done. I mean, you go to every section of Academy. Normally when like some of the newer stuff within the sports or sports and outdoors world, normally it ends up being an academy first, than other little stores. I mean, then it might go down the
Hmm.
chain, but it always ends up mostly an academy first. With some of the stuff that you've done, I mean, you probably could go around and give honest, experience based opinions on a lot of stuff in there. Like, hey, this is some nice stuff. You really should go get it this way. Even though it may be more expensive than this brand, it's really worth spending the money on this brand.
Yeah, I have a lot of knowledge on Academy products, and I can tell you where anything is in the store. Like, I'm a true Academy ambassador. Sometimes I go in there to pick something up or just shop around, and there have been
Mhm.
plenty of times where people come up to me and ask for help, like where, not because they know me, they're like asking where the fitting room is or where can I find X, Y, and Z, and I'm instead of saying I don't work here, I just answer them and I help
Hey,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, go
So,
ahead. I mean, I mean, you're just making yourself more valuable to Academy.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm so happy to work with them. They've been nothing but good to me. They, they hook me up on gear, and
Mhm.
I get to go on cool trips with them sometimes. They're always taking me out to Texas to do something fun. That's where they're based, in Houston.
Mhm.
And this year they sent me and Slade to the SEC championship game just because I asked. So
Oh,
that's
hey,
been
yeah,
a
yeah.
great partner of mine. I'm still a big supporter of small tackle shops and small outdoor stores, but Academy is a good one. I'm very happy to work with them.
Oh, hey, absolutely. I know I actually remember you documenting most of your time at the SEC championship game, and you look like you really had a lot of fun.
I did.
Minus the result, minus the
Yeah,
result
that
of the
was
game.
tough.
Yeah,
That was tough,
yeah.
but we did have fun.
Oh yeah.
Slade, my boyfriend, is an Alabama grad,
Mhm.
Tuscaloosa native. So
Oh, yeah,
that just shows God's sense of humor to give
yeah.
you your person.
I was gonna say that
But
was gonna be one of my questions. Is that of course, I know Slade's an Alabama fan. I was just gonna say, is he just a fan, or is he an alum?
he has an MBA from Alabama.
Oh, awesome. Oh.
So he's a big business guy. He owns three businesses himself,
Mhm.
and he grew up probably an hour south of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I've actually noticed he's actually been closing on a bunch of land lately.
Hmm. So he
I
sells
thought.
a ton of land. He's had a very good month in January. He's had a lot of real estate moving
Yeah, I try to follow him a good bit around on social media too. I saw he's got that land business, and what does he make?
around. So he
Like
has two
graphic
others.
design on koozies too, I think.
Yeah, so he owns
Yeah,
a koozie company
yeah.
that is patent pending. His patent will
Mhm,
come through very soon. That it
mhm,
can attach to the little things on the Yeti cooler,
mhm,
the handles.
mhm.
So it's just a cool feature that can hang there and be within reach right on the handles. Um, and he has a full time employee that runs that business and just helps mainly outdoor brands, but really anyone that needs koozies. He'll
Right.
just put an order for you. Like
Awesome.
we'll walk around trade shows and everybody in the building does business with him. Like he's like, I made those koozies and those koozies and those. So and then his
Basically just doing some on the fly marketing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So his final business, the one he started in college, it's like his baby. He started Trips for Trade, which is a online membership based trip trading
Mhm.
um, website. So
Awesome.
like if I had a cool deer hunting trip and you wanted to come hunt my farm, but you
Mhm.
had a cool fishing trip that you could take me on, then we'd swap. Like if I had something you wanted to do, you had something I was looking for, we could swap. So
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
that's that was his first business. So yeah, that's Slade. That's what he does, and then
Awesome. I
I
love
have
it.
everything that I'm doing. So yeah, it's a great match.
Oh yeah. Love it. I'd honestly be remiss if I didn't allow this to be able to give a big shout out to some awesome sponsors that you are partnered with. I know you've already touched on Academy. I know you've probably got a few other people that you work alongside with. So if you'd like to do some shout outs, go ahead and do it now.
Yeah. So another great partner of mine, real special to me, is Mossy Oak.
Mm-hmm.
Best camouflage in the world. I've always worn Mossy Oak Bottomland, and
Mm-hmm.
they're some of my favorite people on earth. I align so closely with their brand because their brand just has always been about the values and tradition and just living right and loving the land and being stewards of the land and of the outdoors. So that's Mossy Oak. Love them. And Turtle Box, which is a new sponsor of mine as of this year. Absolutely love those guys as well. They're also out of Texas, Houston, Texas, which is where Academy is. So I love Turtle Box. The product is absolutely amazing. I take it everywhere I go, which, for those who don't know, it's a Bluetooth speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes every event, every situation, even if I'm just tying flies at my desk or shooting my bow, a Turtle Box makes it better. And then
Hey.
I usually play some country music or bluegrass or, if we're really into it, I might have some rap music on. But
Hey.
who else? I have also Native Watercraft. That's my kayak sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Been kayak fishing for years and love it. And what's special about Native is they worked with me when I had about, I don't know, 7 or 8 thousand followers on Instagram. So
I think you froze there, Macy. Oh, froze again. There you are.
you still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I could not hear you, but I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say you froze twice there for a second. I was like, whoop, there went the connection.
Do I need to say anything over again?
I think the last thing that happened before you froze was you said native kayak, and you mentioned they were with you with right around 7 or 8 thousand followers. So basically, I mean, they seem like that they were there from the beginning, or pretty much from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, they absolutely were. And then the last one, which I have not announced yet, so this can be the first time that this information is public. I haven't told anyone or put it anywhere online, so this would be special to your podcast
Right? Like, hey,
that I've recently signed
hey,
a
give it to me.
deal with Mountain Dew. So
Oh,
that will
yeah.
start in March and run through most of the year. Where I'll be doing a bunch of cool stuff for Mountain Dew. Their Get Out and Do campaign, where they support outdoors and conservation, and they. I think that's all I can actually say. There's more details to the campaign that are actually very cool,
Okay.
um, but I'll save that for my page and when I'm allowed to put it out. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was
that
gonna
that's
say,
another.
if there's if there's too much that don't need to get divulged, I mean, you might as well stop. You might as well pause there.
Yeah, I'll pause it there.
Yeah.
I thought about another detail I really wanted to say, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I can't wait for that. I can say I'll be at the Bassmaster Classic in Tulsa with Mountain Dew this year
Mhm.
as a Mountain Dew ambassador, Mountain Dew
Aw-
partner. So
Awesome, awesome, and I know that perfect segue into some of the great trips that you've taken. We'll talk about that
mm,
for a second before we have to thank these sponsors again. I didn't even read the sponsors at the beginning. I just started out,
uh-oh.
so I'll have to thank them after this question. Um, your job, social media presence, and people that you've worked closely with have allowed you to go on some amazing trips to places or events. I mean, I know you headed back to the Bassmaster Classic. You've been there.
Mm,
Uh, you've been there multiple times already. I believe at least once or twice already.
the classic. Oh, I've
Mhm.
been to probably 5 or 6 at this point.
Yeah, so we'll go and say multiple times. I know. Uh, you had one of your YouTube videos was actually what you said was a work trip, was a fishing trip with none other than Bill Dance. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I was gonna say you could tell that you working for the right people if you get to go on a fishing trip with Bill Dance, man.
Yeah, and that's so funny. A client of mine at
Mhm.
Millennium Tree Stands and Millennium Marine,
Mhm.
his name's William. He set me up on that trip. Um, And now Bill's just become a friend of mine and his whole family. So now I really just have to call him and I can
Mhm.
go. So the first time we went to his private pond in West Tennessee, which was absolutely loaded. It was
Mhm.
amazing. It was like a pond that you would see in heaven or something.
I can only
um,
imagine.
then this is also available. That trip's available on YouTube, on my YouTube. And then we did an episode of Mossy Oak Fish Wars last. I think it was like August or September that we did that, and we went up and we fished for catfish on the Mississippi River.
Mhm.
To me versus Bill competition style. That's on Mossy Oak's YouTube. So
Awesome.
that was very fun. He's become a special friend of mine. He even
Mhm.
texts me and checks in sometimes. On
Hey, that's
holidays,
awesome.
I always get a text, and he always signs it with Heart Bill.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I
Yep.
know. Let's say a lot of times whenever I'm watching television at home with my daddy, I know we always watch people like I know we like watch Hank Parker. But I'm more partial to Bill Dance. I know a couple of Jimmy Houston as well, but I'd say of the three, I'm partial to Bill Dance.
Yeah, I would. I love Mr. Bill, as
Mhm.
everyone does, and I will say this about him: I don't think he actually knows that he's famous. Like he talks to everybody.
He sure doesn't act like it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
He just thinks he's Bill.
yeah.
Everybody just I don't
And,
know. It's just
and
what my point is. He's very humble.
right, and I was gonna say, and those types of people, that type of people is the people that I love the most. I mean, it's like, yeah, they are very well known, but I mean, they don't acknowledge it. I mean, I'm just another person. I'm just one of the guys or one of the girls, you know.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Absolutely, he is very special to a lot
And I
of people.
know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was
I
saying he's very
interrupted.
special, but to a lot of people, but especially to me.
Oh yeah. I know one last example that just pops up in my head real quickly is you took a recent trip to the Dallas Safari Club convention as well with
I
I think
did.
you and Slade both go out there or is it just you?
It was both of us, and we
Okay.
went with our friend John Cassimus. So
Mhm.
he flew us out there because we were at ATA. In all transparency, we have a friend with a plane, and that's
Mhm.
John Cassimus. And he was
Mhm.
like, "Y'all hop in. We're gonna go to ATA, then Dallas Safari the next day." So we were like, "Okay." And packed your bag and went. And that
Awesome.
show was very fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Mhm. Hey, I'll rewind back to the point we were talking about like with jobs. It's who you know. I mean, you
It
talk about
literally
they talking
is
about having
who
a plane. It's who you know.
that is it. That is textbook who you know situation. Because
Mhm.
oh Lord,
And
it's awesome.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is where I saw it was the Dallas Safari Club. Wasn't there this massive stand like in the middle of the floor out there?
Yeah, it was a hunting blind that you
Yeah.
basically could live in. It was 3 stories, and the
Mhm.
top was air conditioned, and
That's what I was telling my brother and my daddy the other day. There's no telling how much that thing costs. I
it
was
was
like,
250 grand plus tax.
ooh, my lord.
Yeah, but
Good grief.
I mean, people in that building could definitely afford it. Um,
Oh, I don't doubt it.
some very high rollers attend that show,
Oh,
and
I don't
really,
doubt it.
I could see that blind being in like on a big ranch in Texas or
Mhm.
somewhere in Africa,
Yeah, I mean,
not not at our small farm in
I would
Georgia.
say that fits more like Midwest style hunting.
Yeah,
Basically, where you can find out there and have some big open land, but you better find you a good sturdy tree or 3 or 4 trees to put that thing against, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, when I saw that, my mouth dropped.
yeah. I enjoyed the Dallas Safari Club show. It was definitely a different crowd of big game hunters and international like people who go hunt Africa and just very very exotic animals.
Hmm.
And I remember there was this booth that had fur coats, and I was rubbing one because it looked so soft, and I was like, "What animal is this?" And the guy said, "Lynx. It's lynx fur." And I checked the price tag; it was over 17 grand
Ooh,
for the coat, and I was
mm,
like, "I'm gonna take my hand off that." But
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what you see at Dallas Safari, and
It's
I
too
enjoyed it.
expensive for that's too expensive for me to touch.
I know, right?
I want to thank these sponsors uh, for the first time. Should have done it in the beginning, but thanks goes to these guys. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do this. I want to thank the law office of Joseph I. Marchant. Focuses on real estate closings and probate matters for his service. You can contact him at 478-374-1505. Thanks to the Riles Drug Store, a locally owned and operated independent pharmacy with their own boutique inside. Riles Outfitters offers home decor, gifts, and clothing for men, women, and children. You can shop local and make our community a better place to live. You can call today at 229-868-6735 or stop by at 12 South 2nd Avenue with Craig Helena for help with any of your needs. The Merchants and Citizens Bank has been a vital part of the community since 1929. They are a proud sponsor of Throwing It Around. For all of your banking needs, please call them today at 229-868-5656. With tax season being here, uh, don't be uh don't be afraid to give your business to Milton CPA Services LLC, your locally owned full service accounting, auditing, tax preparation professionals. Visit them for all your bookkeeping and taxation needs. For expertise and peace of mind, you can call on them. Located in the old Security State Bank building in McRae Helena, call them at 229-868-5614 or visit on the web at www.miltoncpaservices.com. Vineyard Doodles. If you're looking to add a new member to your family, you can visit them on Facebook, Instagram, or on their website at vineyarddoodles.com. Be on the lookout for Turkey Creek Outfitters. They have sites being booked for a February slots not being booked for a February 24th pheasant shoot. Book it as quick as possible so you don't run so they don't run out. $275 per shooter. For all other information and prices and news, visit on Facebook, Instagram, or call and text 478-697-3428. And Jason's Fast Lube, located at 200 Avenue, McRae, Helena. You can call them at 229-868-5344. And thanks once again to our other local bank, Security State Bank. For all of your needs, you can visit them 45 West Oak Street or call at 229-868-6431. Now, final section here as we are on the home stretch. So we'll jump into a little bit more details about love of the outdoors. We've only hit the high notes so far, really. So this love of the outdoors, was this something that you've pretty much always really had? You've loved being outside, or was this love being outside and doing out stuff in the outdoors, or was this kind of developed over time, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, it was definitely gradual over um over the span of my lifetime compared to where I am now. Just full fledged,
Mm-hmm.
always doing it, all into it. But just growing up, I was outdoorsy and a bit of a tomboy. So my grandpa would always take me fishing. And sometimes my dad would too, but me and my grandpa, that was special to us. And my church actually had this fish fry that we would have every year. It was like a day of fishing, and then we'd have a fish fry. It's like a fellowship event, and that was at Mr. Frank's, which was a member of our church who had a lot of ponds right there together that we could go fish. So I owe it to my grandpa and my dad and Mr. Frank just being a good landowner,
Oh yeah.
and offering up his ponds just to a little girl that wanted to go catch some brim on a worm. And
Hey,
then after that, as I got into like high school, kind of bass fished some, and then I started bass fishing a lot. Um, and then after that came fly fishing and trout fishing when I moved to the mountains for college.
hey, I
So
got you. Oh, I love it. So I would say that we've actually touched a lot on. You've touched a good bit on fishing too. We'll touch on that a little bit further down in the question list. But I'd say it's been such a while since I've gone fishing. I bet you I'm probably a good bit rusty. I've been focused more on deer hunting a lot. But I honestly
yeah,
should go. I honestly should get back out there and start fishing some more because I'm starting to miss it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I haven't done as
Mm-hmm.
much bass fishing as I used to. That used to be the only thing I care about,
Mm-hmm.
or I cared about. So yeah, like I said, it's when you got so many hobbies, It's hard to make time for them all.
Oh, for sure. I know you asked for me to talk about myself for a little bit, and I know like whenever I first started fishing, of course I've always had kind of sadly I've had kind of a lower patience level. I'm a lot like my daddy,
Mhm.
where we kind of I guess I guess patience is a genetic thing for weirdly enough with us. But I know when I was little and I'd start fishing, like the moment there's like a span of minutes that I'm not catching anything, I ended up wanting to go home. But since you gotten older, you kind of do gain a little bit more patience now that you have
Mhm.
you gain just a little bit
Well,
more patience.
with fishing,
Mhm.
it's not for me. It's not just sitting there hoping something bites. It's like a game to me, like a
Mhm.
challenge. Like, oh, they're not biting this. Well, what will they bite?
Mhm.
Like, or either catching a fish and like seeing what they're eating and throwing something that replicates that,
Mhm.
matching the hatch, they say. If and just figuring out, oh, they're not biting on bottom, but they're suspended and they're biting in the middle of the water column, or they're chasing bait on top, and you can see them chasing around. Just making those um, realizations and knowing what's happening and studying what's around you. It's like a game for me. So it's not just like sitting there waiting. So it's
Mhm.
very active for me.
Yeah,
That's
and I know, and I'll say the more and more that I was able to go, I got to where I would okay if nothing's happening here, I would actually walk 50 to 100 yards around the pond to a completely different spot and then thinking, well, maybe nothing's right here. Maybe they may be over here collected
hmm
up in a group over on this other side of the pond, or if you might want to. For people that don't fish off the bank, they'll get in a boat and go out there. Maybe they're out there toward the center of the water. I mean,
hmm
it's basically like hunting too. It's a game of chess. You got to figure out, okay, where are the fish?
And where are they going?
Yeah, where are they? Where are they at? Where are they going? What's their preference today?
Yeah, and it could be
Yeah,
structure like
yeah.
foliage or
Mhm,
brush piles, which they relate to, submerged logs. It could be points.
mhm,
Fish really relate to points. Um, and some days, I remember one fishing trip I went on. It's like they were never on points, but if there were points on the points, they were on those points. If that makes sense. So just figuring out stuff like that. Um, just it's all about patterning. All
oh yeah.
animals follow a certain pattern. You just
Oh,
gotta
absolutely,
just gotta
absolutely.
put your thinking cap on and figure it out.
Oh yeah. Mhm. Let's say some early childhood memories. We'll jump in. Oh, we'll go that way. So, what's the first experience or memory that you can remember off the top of your head? And so, I know you mentioned the ponds that you used to fish, like whenever you'd go to church fellowship suppers, and
Mhm.
how I'd say, is that maybe the first thing that comes up in your head, or is there something else come up and you've already mentioned that?
Yeah, first outdoor memory. I remember my dad and my grandpa took me to this pond. It's kind of off the highway near Macon, Georgia, and just the owner of it just granted us access to go fish for the evening. And I remember I caught my first fish, and it was a big old catfish.
Hmm.
We are using live bait. Um, I have a picture of this too. I was wearing those
Oh,
like they're supposed to make you more. Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it cut out there for a second.
Well, those fighting necklaces that everyone
Oh,
wore. Those I was wearing like two of them. One was
mm-hmm.
braided. I looked like yeah, but I caught a big catfish. And then I remember the next one was so big it broke my line, and I told everybody about it the next day at school. And I remember
Awesome.
my dad said, "We've created a monster." And yeah, I never wanted to stop going after that. That's my first memory.
Oh yeah, that was gonna say that first little experience creates that big amount of adrenaline. It's like I want to go do that again. Yeah.
Oh, and the fact that one broke
Mhm.
off and I didn't get to
Mhm.
see it, that
Mhm.
to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know I was listening to this other podcast revolving around hunting too, and it really does apply to fishing too. I would say is that the the failure and like the stress around the sport too, like if something doesn't end up going your way, like you mentioned, fish breaking off the line, or if you miss a shot on a deer or whatever, like the failure and the stress, it may sound counterintuitive, but that's what kind of raises the adrenaline, like motivates you to get out there and do it again. Hey, I missed it this time. I'm fixing to go back and find it again. And maybe this time I can reel it in because that time is like making up for a mistake and you finally get it in that time. You just feel much better than you would have if you got it the first time.
Yeah, that is so true. I'm glad you said that because I've had some experiences that have definitely just, for lack of a better word, just ripped my heart out.
Hmm.
And like the best thing to you can do about that is to get back out there. Because I remember I fished a tournament one time and just didn't do well. My equipment broke. Like my graph literally broke. I broke a rod. Um, I was weighing a fish and he jumped back in the water and it didn't count. It's just a bad day. And after that, I was like, I could have sulked and just been mad, but you know what I did? I just entered another tournament. So, and then I remember this season, I shot a deer, never found him, and it was big deer, big wide rack deer in Ohio, and never found him. And you know, I got over that, but right after when I let my emotions, you know, gave them a moment, and then after that, I was like, it's time to get back in the stand. It's time
Yeah,
to get my
absolutely. Absolutely. I know. Uh, I've always heard this phrase in sports. Some people say that you need to have selective amnesia. I mean, kind of acknowledge that a mistake happened, but then then for then forget that it ever did happen, and go out there and kind of have the mindset that you had from the very beginning. Because if you keep that running in your head, you're gonna mess up again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I, like I said, I have that background with
Hmm.
sports, so you know, try to apply that with what I do today because while I have been doing these things for a while, and of course I have a lot of time to put towards them and be good at them, I still make mistakes. Things don't always go as planned. Actually, things actually never go as planned. Y'all just see the highlights on Instagram. If people could see the adversity behind my hunts
Hmm.
that I go on, yeah, it'd be crazy. But yeah, you see the success on Instagram. But I sometimes I go through pictures of turkeys or deer, and I think about everything that went wrong to get me to that moment of harvesting the animal. It's crazy.
Oh, hey,
Adversity, like my friend Maggie said this: the adversity makes for a better story every time. So
I love that. I love that.
yeah.
The outdoors is one huge topic of conversation that houses ton of subtopics like fishing, hiking, camping, competition shooting, whether it's with guns or bows, etc., etc. To kind of broaden the topic out for yourself and like show me the whole picture of Macy Watkins' life in the outdoors, and tell me like what all you take part in. We've already touched fishing and
Mhm.
hunting, and I know I think one of your YouTube videos you touched on loving to really just go hike out in the woods and walk around and like take in nature.
Mhm.
Is there anything else or is the hiking kind of the I guess
Yeah.
the bare end of the list there?
Yeah. At first, I feel like my passions were superficial. You know, maybe that's not the right word. I loved them. I'm so passionate about them, but it was superficial. It was like I love to hunt. I love to fish. But now I'm moving more into this. I really love land. And meeting Slade helped me with this a lot. It's like I love taking care of land. I love making the land better. I love doing things that can build better habitats for wildlife. This year I became an NWTF Silver Life donor. So, and you might have seen I've done my turkey calendars, fundraising projects.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I did say that.
so I've grown a lot deeper in my passions by being an advocate and a volunteer, um, raising money for conservation and volunteering for conservation. I've done a lot with Trout Unlimited as well, which is something I'm passionate about, keeping waters clean and fishing accessible um, for trout. And um, past that, I do just love spending time outside and Slade. He sells land, and it's just a big steward of the land and investing in earth. So that's definitely grown my passion there. Other than that, I love to run, love to be outside doing stuff like that. Really want to run a marathon one day. We'll get there. Um, Also, what else is part of me? I guess that's really it, except for playing golf.
An
I love
outdoor
to play a
sport.
little golf.
It'll count.
Yeah,
It's an outdoor sport.
yeah. And then just saying how I've grown from just a superficial love for the outdoors. Now I'm like just deepening my passions all the time. Like I've gotten so into fly tying and taking feathers from birds I've killed and tying flies of to trout fish with or to fly fish with, and I feel like I've just become such a just more knowledgeable and more resourceful outdoorsman. Just having those full circle moments of tying flies with feathers from birds I've killed, and just creating. I mean, it's really something when you make something with your hands and you trick a fish into biting it. I mean, it truly is a great moment. So just having those moments have have deepened my appreciation for nature and deepened my passions. That was a very elaborate response, but
Hey, I mean,
covered it.
but hey, I love the detail. I mean, I was gonna say you pretty much got it all in there. Well, I see. I told you to show me the whole picture, and like
Yeah,
you didn't disappoint.
yeah. That was like half of the picture. I feel like I'm a big picture. Like I said, there's a lot to me. I enjoy
Oh,
it
I don't
though.
doubt it. I don't doubt it.
Yep.
So since moving to northern Georgia, I mean, we'll kind of go into more detail about fly fishing here. Is that something? That's something I've never done. I would say that I've more, like you said, along the traditional lines of fishing. But so, what got you hooked on fly fishing?
Mm, just the area I lived in.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I took a little spinning reel or spinning setup to the trout streams when I was in college. Trout fishing was like my thing to figure out because I didn't have that back home. And I just wanted to do it. I wanted to catch
Hmm.
trout. So I would go after class or after work and just figure it out, walk around. There'd be old men fishing the stream that would tell me what they were throwing. Um, and then eventually, I just wanted to take it further. Like everything I do, I find a way to make it harder, have a new challenge.
Hmm.
Another example is like deer hunting, but then, picking up a bow, trying to get it done with the bow. Um, and honestly, it just looks so cool. It's such an art, fly fishing is. Like the cast and fly tying and matching the hatch with bugs that they're eating. It's such an art to fly fish. And I'm an artsy person, creative, and like I said, I wanted a challenge. So I started fly fishing and I picked up like the cheapest fly rod I could find. Actually, someone gave it to me.
Hmm.
It was a hand me down. Um, so yeah, I wanted a new challenge. And now I'm eat up with it. So don't pick up a fly rod unless you want to get addicted.
Okay, I was gonna say you pretty much took the words out of my mouth with the next question. I was gonna say, have you gotten to the point to where or to where you prefer this over the traditional route?
I hate to say it because I've always loved bass fishing, conventional fishing with my whole heart, but there's just something about fly fishing. It's so special. It's what I want to do. That
Okay.
and that and turkey hunting. If I had to pick two,
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
I
what I
got you.
prefer. I just can't put down my fly rod. It's so fun, and it feels like learning to fish all over again. Like catching your first. Catching your first fish, your first bass, your first this and that, or your first big fish. Doing it all over again and having those milestones on a fly rod has been so fun to me. It's like a whole new journey. So, and it's impressive to catch big
Mm-hmm.
fish that other people are catching on a bait caster, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here ripping in fly line. I mean, it's impressive. So, it's just
Oh.
another feather in my hat, to
Mm-hmm.
fly fish.
I got you absolutely. I know that it's so technical, which makes it look so much more impressive. Because I
Yeah,
mean, there's a whole lot more technique to it instead of just simply reeling it in.
yeah, it is truly a craft.
Mhm. So we could sit here for a while and list all the types of animals that are able to be hunted. So I mean, kind of what type of hunts have you been on? We'll get into the hunting part now.
What all types of hunting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll start with turkey. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite. The cool thing about that is I haven't been doing it my whole life, so something that I've grown passionate about the last few years. But it is my favorite. Also deer hunting. I do enjoy the upland quail and pheasant hunting. I love the duck hunt. Might not do it all the time, but I do love to do it. Um, Other than that, I've iguana hunted, done some weird things.
Really,
We
really iguana.
kill a bunch of hogs on Slade's farm just because they're such a nuisance, and there's a lot of problems with hogs. So
Mm-hmm.
we hog hunt. That's about it.
Okay. Okay. You actually got out there, did some archery hog hunting this past go around, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say. I was gonna
I've
say
shot
that.
two with my bow.
Mm. I was gonna say I have gone hog hunting before, and I've of course go deer hunting. I would say next on my list that I would like to cross off is turkey and elk. I mean for a while now I've gotten to where if I ever get the chance at all to like go on an elk hunt with somebody or either by myself I would jump at the chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say elk is next on my list too.
Yeah, because there's something about I mean, I've always thought it would be a big challenge, like the spot and stalk type of thing. I mean, being really quiet in the woods and having to sneak up and get as close as possible to the elk as
Mm-hmm.
possible. Because you've got that change in elevation too, because uh you've got a mental challenge and it's also a really big physical challenge as well because that change in
Yeah.
elevation. Because those suckers are climbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Slade has shot an elk, and I might get an opportunity next fall to go. But yeah, I'd really like to do that. I think Western big game is next on the list for me.
mm. Well, yeah, have at it. I mean, if I ever get that chance at all, I mean, I definitely would jump at it because elk hunts are really entertaining to watch as well. I know I've there's a lot of people that I follow on Instagram. I know there's a lot of YouTube elk hunts that I watch. Um, let's see, and I know traditional whitetail hunts are really entertaining to watch too. But it's so common around here to where it's kind of like the standard, I guess you could say. I mean, there are no elk here. So I mean, if you go try looking at a different animal now, okay, this looks like something fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
Yep, that's definitely what's next for me.
mhm.
I'd love to chase elk and hike up in the mountains and do that. I know nothing. I'm clueless, but we can figure it out.
Oh, that's exactly the
I have
same way.
some. I have a few contacts out west that
Mhm.
I do plan on getting with next year. So, well,
That's
this year,
exactly the
this
same way
year.
I would be if I were out there. I was like, hey, just show me the way, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different ball game, but
Mhm.
yeah.
We'll kind of touch quickly on methods of hunting now. We're looking at bows over guns, different types of setups, whether it's a tree stand, elevated blind, ground blind. I know you visited the tethered headquarters uh, kind of earlier on in the fall, and I know you got real. Seems like you've gotten hooked on hunting out of a saddle.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Mhm,
Went up to Tethered in August. They hooked me up with a bunch of gear,
mhm,
and I just love hunting on my saddle. I find it more comfortable. At first, it wasn't, but you got to get used to it. A few weeks of hunting in it, and I preferred it. Actually, I was falling asleep in it, and it's just a very lightweight method of hunting
mhm,
with the gear that you use. So if you're going in on a spot that's not yours or public land, that you just need to throw something up and get up in the tree quickly and efficiently,
Hmm.
then it's a good option for that. I've enjoyed it. Plus, you hang in it horizontal, well, not horizontally, but diagonally, so you kind of
Hmm.
just look like another tree limb.
That's actually a good point. I wouldn't really think of it that way. I've noticed people
Yeah,
talking about how they've actually got more of a like more options to make shots at, to where instead of like in a stand,
yeah.
it's basically however far you can turn your body. I guess you could say maybe a 180 at the best.
You can do you can do more than 180 degrees
Yeah.
turn. I remember I was in my saddle in Ohio,
Hmm.
and so many deer came in, and I was able to get swing around like 180 and hide behind the tree until the buck came in because
Hey,
they were very spooked. But I was able to slowly move and hide myself behind a tree.
cool,
So
cool.
you have such a range of motion with those things. So
Hmm. And I would think that somebody just getting up in something like that, or at least this the way I would be thinking, is that the you kind of get that false sense of I'm about to fall out of this tree because I'm not exactly sitting in something. Because
yeah,
you're basically hanging off of the tree. Is like, am I actually going to stay here?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just like it's basically a lineman's harness
yeah.
and
Hmm.
lineman belt. So um, yeah, I was tripping the first time I had to sit back, but
I would say it's got to be that little bit of you got to have that adjustment period, I guess.
you definitely do. Yeah,
Hmm.
used to it. But once you do, a lot of people prefer it.
Hmm. Say the feeling of harvesting your first animal. We'll travel back in time again. We're going back and forth. Travel back in time to harvesting the first animal is that's something a person will not forget. It gives that sense of accomplishment. It kind of makes you feel proud that you're actually providing food instead of going out and buying it and bringing it back home to cook it. So when did that happen for you?
My first hunt was a dove hunt, like a lot of people's are, because it's just a fun social event. But I was probably 11, and it wasn't a fancy dove shoot or anything. We were in our backyard. Um, really, I mean, it's not. It's a field. We were in a field on our property that wasn't a dove field, but it was really where our goats grazed around, and we just sat in the tree line. And I remember shooting my first dove,
Cool.
and
Cool.
it was so fun. And I just remember I had a really special feeling the first time I saw one fall from the sky, which really made me passionate about bird hunting and
Hmm.
shotgun sports.
And plus, you got to think about too. I mean, that really is an accomplishment because of the uh, the good aim that you got to have. Because them suckers fly faster. They fly faster than people think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all about really. You can't aim right at the thing because as soon as you fire off a shot, they've already passed.
Yeah, you certainly got to lead them, and they will
Mm-hmm.
do some crazy stuff. So,
Mm-hmm. I'll say I'll kind of tie this as a we'll go with a tie-in question here. I'll extend it out to places instead of animals now. I mean, you've traveled to different places in the country and were able to go on some great hunts. Is there one particular place that kind of sticks out in your mind, whether it's you were able to kill a great animal, or but well, I'll say well multiple animals if it was a bird hunt, or would you just want to go back because of the memories you made there and maybe the beautiful scenery?
yeah, so just what there's plenty of places I've been, but what sticks out in my mind when you ask that is just the state of Tennessee. It's just such an amazing place. It's beautiful, and the wildlife is abundant.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of big deer. That's where I killed my first bow buck, which was back in September. The turkey hunting, it's been amazing. I killed 2 turkeys there last year, and it was where I met Slade. It's where we first turkey hunted and doubled up,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had a ton of great memories there. They have amazing fisheries, rivers, and like the Tennessee River system, the chain of lakes. So yeah, Tennessee's where it's at.
Cool, cool. I know we've gone on some family trips up in Tennessee before too. I know at least over there, uh, I know you pretty much got in the mountains that are that are always in view. That mountain range is beautiful. I know,
Mm,
especially in the fall. I mean, if you go up there at the right time, you might freeze your tail off, but it's still beautiful, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. And y'all actually you just touched on killing your first archery buck, so kind of walk us through that as well too. I know, I mean, I'm sure that was a big accomplishment. I know I haven't been doing any type of bow hunt for maybe no longer than 2 years now. Like whenever I got my bow, I was like, okay, I'm fixing to start really hitting hard on this. I haven't killed my first bow buck yet, so I'm really going after that. I know the one deer I was chasing this past season, but it goes back to that game of chess we talked about. Every time I showed up, he was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely don't get that big by being dumb. So
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
it's a challenge.
So kind of run us through the process you had on that day that you killed that deer. I mean, like, I guess how did it go down? I mean, did this hunt happen after you gotten used to that saddle? You were up there, you were able to make good
Um,
shots out of it.
I actually killed that one out of a lock on.
Okay,
That's just what was at that spot. So
okay.
it was in a suburban area. Um, so there's lots of commotion. It wasn't on a farm or anything. It was a city deer, and I had been up there for velvet season and came back empty-handed. So did Slade, and then we just made plans to go back on the opener of bow season after velvet season, and it was just the first morning. I remember we were in a hotel and um, we in the city, and we shot our bows in the parking lot real secretively in a
Hmm.
dark corner. And Slade would turn on the headlights for me when I was ready to shoot, and I rolled my target in the parking lot. Um, just so we didn't have any Karens complaining about us. We were very secretive. And then the
Uh,
next morning, um, Slade dropped me off at my spot. He went to his, and I mean, right as it was turning daylight, like right after shooting light, he just walked in and I got him. I was kind of blocked by some pine trees, um, and he kind of stopped for a minute before he was in the opening, and I just needed him to take a few more steps, and he finally did, and he paused, and by that time, I had had like 7 to 10 minutes to calm down. That's what I like when deer take their time because it gives me time to just chill and calm
mhm.
down and control my breathing. Then he got in there, and I drew back and I settled in on him, and I made a great shot. He ran 30 yards towards my truck, so
Hey,
it
couldn't.
was really the perfect morning.
Oh
It was
yeah, I was gonna say, especially to the direction he ran, you couldn't have ran in a better direction.
right,
Yeah, we
right.
can't. We're not fixing to make this drag out any more difficult than usual. So thank you for going that way.
Yep.
Mhm. But hey, once again, I mean, a big congrats goes to you there. I mean,
Thank you.
and I hope sometime soon. I mean, if this 8 point that I've been going after, that I mean, he actually looks fairly mature. If I can pull it up, let me show you a picture of it.
Just know if you don't get him, he'll only get bigger.
That's for sure. I mean, he ain't the biggest in the world, but
He looks good.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd shoot him all day long.
Mhm. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
there was also a smaller framed 8 that kept popping up too, and I was like, well, I mean, if that other one that and he was gone for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then finally popped up again. I was like, oh, thank God nobody shot you, and then he just off the face of the earth, and like he fell into the rabbit hole and didn't show up again.
Yeah, they tend to do that, don't they? I
Mhm,
have one that I'm confused on his whereabouts as well. So
mhm.
they'll
And
get
plus,
you where.
and plus, he's got this broken off point too, so he's fairly easy to spot
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
I hope you get him
Thank you.
when the time is right.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it. We'll talk about another term. We'll go to the term of conservationists. So this is a term that's used in conjunction with the word hunter. Many people who are against the entire premise or the idea of hunting don't understand what it means and what it really entails. I mean, whether it's a vegetarian that doesn't like you eating animals or people who are just against the concept
Mhm.
of hunting in general. I mean, if you think about, let's see, think about if you look at the whole picture of this, people that they're not seeing the point really. I was watching the Outdoor Channel not too long ago, and I cannot remember the show I was watching, but the one man on there who was one of the hunters, he made the point. He said, "We're not just hunters; we're conservationists." And say we probably have one of the most. We're probably the ones that has the most amount of appreciation for the land and the animals that live here. So I'd say, are you in agreement with this statement here?
Definitely, definitely. You you gotta be a conservationist as well as a hunter, if you're truly in it for the right reasons. And just because of hunters, there's so much gets done, and especially in this country, because we pay for licenses and
Mm-hmm.
we um, we support nonprofits with our money and time, and in turn, habitats get protected, habitats get built and made better. Like I said, water is clean, and so it's very important. And
Absolutely, that's what I've got here in the notes. I mean, you took the words and ran with it. I mean, the money circulated right back into the conservation efforts. I mean, hunters don't just go out there to
yeah,
pop, pop off at an animal and then just leave and not do anything else.
yeah, and just an example, like it's more than money. Every time I go out trout fishing, or sometimes hunting or fishing anywhere, I have a big net that I carry, and usually I'll put trash in it on the way out
Hmm.
because you'd be surprised what people leave behind. So I believe hunters and anglers as a population, we truly care about the land and about the environment, and try to make it a better place
Oh,
and
for
make it
sure.
last for generations past us.
Hmm. And there's this age old lesson as to whenever you go to a place that isn't yours, always try to leave it better than you found it, which is a great thing to live by.
Absolutely. I try to keep that in mind all the time.
And keep piggybacking off points, and we'll say land and personal preparation for yourself is what we'll talk about now. So, like, what's the average like little checklist that you kind of run through whenever you're going on a hunting trip? I mean, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to divulge any big secrets. No matter how generic this checklist is there a checklist that you go through whenever you head out for a hunt?
We're just like preparing for one.
Yeah, just preparing for one, whether it be like you personally or you going out and doing something on the land, whether it's like pouring corn, setting up a camera,
Okay.
which of course I know
Yeah.
you've become a big fan of Moultrie as well, so you can talk
Yeah.
about that if you want to.
I love the Moultrie Edge cameras. So, just patterning deer, it's a game changer for that. Um, and then, yeah, I do tend to feed my spots where it's legal. Get a lot of hate for that, but like, I don't care. um,
Mhm.
it's kind of what we do in the South, and it is legal, so there's nothing wrong with it. But other than that, preparing for a hunt, I always have a mossy oak bottom land on. Um, I'm not big on scent control, honestly. Learned a lot of this from Slade, but it's just very important to play the wind. So
Right. Mhm.
always checking the wind before you go out, making sure that you're not going to get busted. Because if you are, it's not worth going and sitting.
Right.
Pick a different spot. Um, go the next day when the wind's better. Last thing you want to go in there is mess up something.
Mhm. Which
But
you know,
other than
I
that, I have my pack where I always have a rangefinder and my vortex binoculars, um, and then I always just I'm referring to deer hunting here, but making
right.
sure that I'm on with my bow. I always make a few shots, um, but only a few, not too many where I get tired
Mhm.
or I'm a little off and I get in my head. I trust my instincts and I trust my form and my practice. So just a few shots.
Absolutely. You don't want to go in there and let your shoulder be about burn out and have lactic acid build up whenever you got to pull back and
Yeah,
possibly make a shot.
Yeah, you gotta do the practice beforehand and just trust in your form and your practice.
Oh, for
So
sure. Okay, next question now. So, being that we've talked about all these topics, I'll say this as like to wrap it all up. Um, I'll say this out the outdoor industry kind of leans still heavily towards the majority of men, but in many people's eyes, you have become one of the uh leading women on the internet who have made women the forefront of the outdoor industry more commonplace or like more mainstream. Well,
mhm.
let me pause here. Are you able to see me? Because the wind, I mean, the sun is coming in.
I can see you, but it I can see the sun coming in.
Let me close this. That's still kind of rough. Anyway, I'll start over again and say, you become one of the leading women and made it more commonplace and mainstream, and I'm all here for it. It's absolutely amazing. Like some of the other great ones that I've started to follow a good bit is Nina Rogers. You got Lakin Fulcher, uh, the great Maggie Williams, who's absolutely killing it with her podcast as well. I've I,
Great.
I've enjoyed listening to it a lot. And if you go just a little bit older, you've got Eva Shockey as well. I mean, I follow her a lot too. So
Mhm.
but I said all that to simply ask you, how do you feel to have made it to where you are today?
It's very empowering. If I had one word to describe it, it is absolutely empowering. To be the girl that I looked up to when I was young, and I which these people are almost the same age as me, but I really looked up to Hannah Barron and Katie Van Slyke were
Hmm.
two that I just absolutely loved, and sportswoman Courtney followed her. But now just to be amongst them and you know be one of the leaders for women in the outdoors just means a lot. I don't take it lightly. I try to do absolutely everything by the book because I know a lot of eyes are watching me. A lot of young girls, like, a lot of young people. So I always try to set a good example, do things the right way, do it well, and of course put my faith first. So it feels absolutely amazing. I'm empowered by it. I've met some other great women, like you mentioned. Maggie Williams is one of my best friends. Um, and it's just absolutely amazing to be a woman in the outdoors.
I love that answer, and I love and one thing that I do like about you too, and I may have already mentioned it, but I mean to have it you seem very well very faith centered, and that's really the best. That's really the best thing to have is to acknowledge where where the accomplishments and the blessings have come from. You know.
Absolutely, I credit everything to the Lord. He's been so
Mhm.
good to me.
So I think we'll close it out by saying this. You get Tell me some goals that you might have set for yourself in the upcoming. I know in the upcoming hunting seasons. I know people are still hunting pheasants. You got turkeys coming up. I
Mm,
know. I don't think duck season has ran out yet.
today's the last day.
Today is the last day. Okay, okay. Today's the last day of duck season. So, is there any goals going forward? Whether it's we can focus it on hunting, or is there personal goals that you might have set for yourself?
So I want to kill my grand slam turkey hunting, which is all four species of turkey
Hmm.
domestically. I want to go kill a turkey in Hawaii, so the trip's booked. We're going in March.
Awesome.
So trying to kill a Rio over on the island. Um, I have other very specific goals, like I'm trying to increase the states that I've killed turkeys in. So just I want to. I'm dedicating turkey season to just going hard and seeing how many we can knock out and have some great experiences along the way and learn a lot about the wild turkey. Also trying to call up my first turkey, trying to get more proficient with my calling, um, which is something I'm not afraid to say that I'm learning and trying to be great at. So um, that's a new endeavor. Um, Other than that, still trying to catch that double-digit bass.
Hmm.
Still trying to do some fly fishing out west. I want one of my turkey hunts this year to be a combo of going somewhere to kill a turkey, but also like um, a really good fly fishing
Hmm.
location. So, other than that, I love to read. I'm trying to read 50 books this year.
Solid
Uh,
goal. Solid goal in the
yeah, I
books.
love
Yeah.
to read. Yeah, I have plenty more goals. Come up with new ones all the time, but those are mine right now.
You got a favorite book that you've read so far?
Hmm. Favorite book? I have a ton. I mean, classics. I'd say like Gone with the Wind.
Hmm.
History's definitely The Nightingale. It's a World War II book. Other than that, nonfiction, I'd say Sibley's Guide to Trees, which is my tree book
Hmm.
that
I
I
got
did
you.
my trees with.
I got you.
The Bible, also highly recommend.
Number one seller for years.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, you put any book in my hands, I love it. Also, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which is a true crime that was based on a guy from my hometown that moved to Savannah and killed a guy. So
Oh,
actually, it's crazy, but I read it every year. It's just a very good book.
hey.
One of my favorites. You
I,
asked.
I don't know what it is with women and true crime, but okay.
That is so true. That's so true. I'm guilty.
Well, hey, I love it. I mean, you've got some solid goals set. So I want to thank the
Thanks.
sponsors one more time before we close out the episode. Big thanks goes to Security State Bank, Jason's Fast Lube, Turkey Creek Outfitters, Vineyard Doodles, Milton CPA Services, Merchants and Citizens Bank, Riles Drugstore, and the Law Office of Joseph I. Marchant. Thank you so much, guys. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So that'll do it for episode 36. I want to thank you so much again, Macy, for coming and sitting down with me, taking the time, and just discuss hunting and anything in the outdoors in general. Guys, I'll be back soon with another round of content. So don't forget to stay up to date by catching up on the episodes you may have missed. Subscribe to the Throwing It Around YouTube channel and keep your eyes on my Facebook and Instagram page for updates. And until next time, y'all have a good day.